So, good afternoon, students. Today I have decided to discuss a very unique topic that surpluses and marketed surpluses, marketable surpluses, and producer surpluses. So, this topic is very important topic as far as in agriculture is concerned. So, we have to discuss this thing in a proper manner to understand actually what is producer surplus, what is marketable surplus, and what is marketed surplus. So, these things we discuss today in the class. So what are the objective of the discussion? That the concept of market surpluses, and they will discuss the surpluses of producers, marketable and marketed surpluses. So let us have a first discussion on the producer surpluses. Producer surplus of agriculture commodities, that what is actually in any developing economy, the producer surplus of agricultural product play a significant role. This is the quantity which is actually made available to non-producing population of the country. From the marketing point of view, this surplus is more important than the total production of commodities. The arrangements of marketing and expansion of market have to be made only for the surplus quantity available with the farmers and not for the total production. This is because only a portion of the total production is sold in the market after personal consumption by the member of the farm household, and the retention in the farm for several reasons. So that we know that why they are keeping all the things, so for the seed purpose sometimes, for the adverse conditions sometimes they are keeping this thing. So these are the important things. They are very important. So producer surplus and the agricultural commodity that we have discussed. So once again, I'll repeat that in any developing economy, the producer surplus of agricultural product plays a significant role. This is the quantity is actually made available to the non-producing population of the country. From the marketing point of view, this surplus is more important than the total production of commodities. The arrangement for marketing and expansion of markets have to made only the surplus quantity available with the farmers and not for the total production. This is because only a portion of that the population production is sold in the market after personal consumption. So that is why the thing is very important, what is the reason behind it, that we'll see over here. So that is the producer surplus in the agriculture commodity. Now the rate at which the agricultural production expands determine the pace of agricultural development, while the growth in the marketable surplus determine the pace of economic development. And an increase in production must be accompanied by an increase in the marketable surplus for the economic development of the country. Through the marketing system is more concerned with the surplus which enters or likely to enters in the market. The quantum of quantity, the quantum of quantity The quantum of total production is essential for the larger production of commodity, the greater will be the surplus so of the commodity, and vice versa. If the lesser the production surplus, then the lesser is the marketable surplus. So that is the vice versa. If the production surplus is more, then we have a more opportunity of the marketable surplus. So the product or commodity expected in the market. So the knowledge of marketed and marketable surplus helps the policymaker as well as the traders in the following area. So every area that is very important. That what is the significance of the surpluses? That what is the producer surpluses for particularly, that we'll discuss one by one over here. So significance of producer surplus, that is very important. That farming sound policies, price support programs are an integral part of the agricultural policies necessary for stimulating agricultural production. The knowledge of quantum of marketable surplus help in framing these policies. So first, the what is the plus point of this? So that the framing sound policies, how we can have the perfect policies for agriculture. If until and unless we understood that what to be produced, how much to be produced, and when to be produced. If we have three things in our mind, then how much we have to cap in the form of the production surplus or in the form of the marketable surplus to run the economy in a smooth manner. So that the study of these production surplus, marketable surplus, and marketed surplus help policymakers, and it's an integral part of the policy of the agricultural sector. So that is very important. That farming framing sound policies, price support program are an integral part. If the unnecessary, because if we know that in agricultural commodity, even after 74 years of independence, still we are struggling for that because we don't have that idea actually. Because the agricultural produce generally they are under the threat of the environmental, because sometimes the yield is less or sometimes yield is more. That is to be the, we will see that on the very well, the perishable item is also in agriculture we are having. So that affect the policy makers, and sometimes government is facing so many problems. And we know that the onion and the prices of these, they are like anything. And the tomato price sometimes, because of the shortage and because of that the natural calamities, sometimes the price we don't control because we don't have that, because we can, these are the perishable in nature, so we can't keep them for a longer period. So that is also one of the most reason that sometimes the inflation will see in the prices hike in these particular commodities. So that help that in what way we have to manage all the things. So that the framing sound price policies, price support program are an integral part of the agricultural policy necessary for stimulating agricultural production. If we produce that, how much we required actually, and how much we required in the form of the securities. So that in the cases of the pulses, in the cases of the grains, we know that to be, because how we can have to take this thing in our mind. So that's why that is why the government is promoting nowadays the pulses production, because we know that we are not able to produce the pulses, and we have that much of that the poor storage of these pulses in our country. So that's why we have decided to frame the policies, and in the policies we have decided to promote the production of pulses, and we have incentivized the farmers, those who are following the policies of the government which they have formed, and then they are also giving certain incentives to the farmers for that. So that is why the framing sound policy, price support or program are integral part of the producer surplus. Now the developing proper that procurement and purchase strategies. Yes, this is the correlation that how when we are framing the price policy and other policies, then the development of proper procurement and purchase strategies, that to be the important part of the producer surplus. If we have produces the goods and if we are not able to store properly that goods, then we have to have the strategy that in what way we have to purchase the additional that producer surplus, those who are being produced by the farmers with the hard work and the devotion. That we know that in agriculture that there are plenty of that environmental threats, and then after that only we have the production of the agricultural commodities. So that we have to develop the proper procurement and purchase strategy. The procurement policy for feeding in the public distribution system (PDS) that has to take into account the quantum and behavior of marketable and marketed surplus. That to be also the part of that. That on the basis of that we will give the incentives to the farmers that to produce the goods to that level. Similarly, the traders, processors, and the exporters have to decide their purchase strategy, that in what way they'll obtain that the raw material in the form of the agricultural commodities, and that the strategies on the basis of the marketed quantity. That is very much important. So that for the developing proper procurement and purchase strategy, the significance of producer surplus is very important. Then checking undue price fluctuation. Yes, if we want to control the unnecessary fluctuation in the price, that to be only addressed by we have the correct knowledge of the producer surplus. A knowledge of magnitude, that extent of the surplus, help in minimizing the price fluctuation in agricultural commodity because of the enable the government and the traders to make proper that arrangement for movement of product from one area to the, because at the time when because of any reason if there is a less productivity or less outcome of that particular commodity, then the commodity, the same commodity can be infused in the market if we have proper marketable surplus in our hand. So that is why very important that this is the important thing that the government should take care about the farmers. That is why the checking of undue price fluctuation, that a knowledge of magnitude and extent of surplus help in minimizing the price fluctuation in agricultural commodity, because it enables the government and the traders to make proper arrangement for the movement of product from one area where they are in surplus to another area where it is deficiency. So that these are the three important things, and fourth is we'll see in the next slide. So once again, I'll discuss the the significance of the producer surplus. That we know that the framing sound price policies, price support program are integral part of the agricultural policy necessary for stimulating agricultural production. Knowledge of quantum of marketable surplus help in framing these policies. Developing proper procurement purchase strategy, the procurement policy for feeding the public distribution system that has to take into account the quantum and the behavior of marketable and marketed surplus. Similarly, the traders, processors, and exporters have to decide their purchase strategy on the their purchase strategy on the basis of the marketed quantity, that how much we have actually. In the purchaser, they also decide their policy, that the store, the warehouse, that the storage, that those who are managing this thing, they are also deciding on the basis of that how much that storage facilities they have to develop. So producer surplus is very important, that how much actually the production is there, and on the basis of that everything to be decided, and the government can, but the things can be decided for the product, those who are having little bit more that life. For example, the grains and pulses we can keep for them for a longer period if we are protecting them in proper manner. But the perishable item like vegetables, fruits, etc., we can't keep them for the longer period. But we can manage this thing, and we can also promote the agro-based industries, the fruit industry, or sometimes the vegetable industry, sometimes the canning and all, so that for a longer period they can procure the things, and they can the cold storage, they can keep these things. And that we know that there are certain the horticultural that the products, those who are the, for example, the sauce and the ketchup and the jam, and the so on. So that can be promoted in an area where we have a huge amount of that producer surplus of this commodity. So this is also helping that the developing proper procurement and purchase strategies. They are to be decided by the government and the other agencies, those who are involved in the sector. So producer surplus, the amount of producer surplus, then how much we can have the next policies to incentivize that producer surplus. That is also very much important. That in what way actually we are going, so that the developing proper procurement and purchase strategy, that they are to be also be decided by the producer level. Then the checking undue price fluctuation, that the price fluctuation, we if we have that proper that arrangement of marketable and storage facilities to procure the marketable producers and marketed surpluses, and then we don't face such type of situation. And if the strict law we have having the holdings, we can't promote that unnecessary, because there are certain that the bad the marketing practitioners, they are there. They hold the things for when they artificially sometimes create the of the shortage in the market for that the government should take strict action, and that can be observed by in the scenario of the business, that if the shortage of any commodity that to be spread, then the price hike is but natural phenomena. So checking undue price fluctuation, that is also very important. The knowledge of magnitude and the extent of that, if the government is having the knowledge of production surplus, and if they are managing on the basis of that the marketable and market surplus, then the price fluctuation, undue that hike in the price fluctuation, that can be avoided. But only in the few cases that where the perishable item is like the tomato and onion, we see that sometimes because of the natural disaster in the area where we have huge production of these crops. So sometimes with the vegetable crops, so we see that because of that sometimes this situation arises. But the checking this is to the law enforcement agency, they are responsible for that. And if they are being farmers, they are incentivizing farmers, they have the proper procurement of that, because we know that when the onion produce their 1 rupee kg, even that they are not able to, the farmers is not getting the price of that production. So that is why so in that case we have to have a perfect that idea, that how we can have the storage and procurement of these kind of the commodities, those who are adversely affecting the entire that the community and in the country at large. And we know that the export and import policy is the advanced estimate of the surplus of such commodities that is to be which have the potential of external trade are useful in the decision related to the export and import of the commodity. If surplus is expected to be less than what is necessary, the country can have a plan for import. And if surplus is expected to be more, then it is necessary that the avenue of exporting such surplus can be exported, because that to be only decided when we have that idea that how much we have in our hand. So that is why the production surplus, the understanding and the knowledge of production surplus of each commodity by the government and the business community, that is to be very much required, because that if we have shortages, we see that we are not producing up to that level which we have decided to be required, then we immediately to control the price, we have to take the decisions in advance, and then we have to start importing the commodity. But if we feel that the huge amount that we have the onion or tomato or like that, then we have to plan that in what way we can promote this thing into the business commodity. So these all are the important things that we are doing this thing in our hand. Then we have to decide this thing, that in what way actually we are doing this thing. So that is very much important, that in what way we are actually proceeding for that thing. So these are the important things, that in what way we are proceeding for the purpose of that thing. So we have to remember this thing, that actually in what way we are proceeding. So that is very important, that if we are able to understand this thing, then we don't have any issue. So that to be handled properly by the community, those who are there. So that is very important, that in what way actually we are. I think that there is a net problem. So when this net problem will be solved, I will discuss this thing once again. And now I think that the connectivity is proper. So now I am once again sharing I'm trying to sharing the screen with you people. So you just wait for that. That I'll share the screen with you, and very much, and then entire screen I'm going for that, and then I'll have a Hmm. So now do you know that because of that sometimes it happens. So we have to remember this thing, that how we are managing all the things in a proper manner or not. That will be discussed by the people of the country. So export-import policies, they are also being decided by the advance estimate of the surplus of the commodities that producer. What is the surplus we have? We don't have. Sometimes we have to import. Sometimes we have to export. So that to be managed by the government and the state agencies, while they have the correct information regarding this. While they have the correct information regarding this. mm, have regarding this. Then the development of transport and the storage system. The knowledge of marketed surplus help in developing the adequate capacity of transport and the storage system to handle it. So that is why very much important this thing. So how we can have this kind of thing with us, we'll see later on. Then the development of transport and the storage system, that is also based on the producer and then the surplus. The knowledge of market surplus will help in the developing adequate capacity of transport and storage system to handle. So now let us have a focus on a new concept, that marketed surplus. So what is the market? Till now we have discussed about the producer surplus, and now we are discussing the marketable surplus. The marketable surplus is the quantity of the produce which can be made available to the non-farm population for the country. It means that whatever the farmer produce after his own consumption, and for seed and other purposes, and the security, after that whatever he provides for the other population to for the consumption, that to be treated as a marketable surplus. It means this is the product which is available for the sale. That the marketable surplus is the residue left with the producer farmer after meeting his requirement for family consumption. Farm needs and seeds and feeds for cattle, payment of labor and time, that if he is doing artisans and carpenter, blacksmith, potter, sometimes the mechanic payment to landlord as rent, and the social that religious payment as kind. This may be expressed as follows that marketed surplus is equal to P minus C, whereas the MS is marketable surplus, P is total production, and the C is the total requirement that family consumption, farm need, payment to labor, artisan, landlord, and payment for social and religious work. So that after that whatever is remains to we are calling the marketable surplus. So that is very much important. Now we have discussion on that what is marketable surplus. So marketable surplus is the quantity of the produce which can be made available for non-population, non-farm population. It means farmers when he addresses all domestic needs. For example, he keep the goods for seed purpose. He keep the goods for the sometimes the payment those they are making in the form of the kind of the produce they have. So that for that purpose they keep sometimes they also the address the family needs, the security also. After that whatever is remain and he want to make available for the other population to be consumed that thing that to be known as a marketable surplus. So marketable surplus is nothing, it is MS is equal to P minus C, whereas the MS is marketable surplus, P is the total production, and the C is the total requirement to family consumption, farm needs, payment of labor, artisans, and landlord, and payment for social and religious work. That all to be considered over here as a total requirements in the case of the farm community. So that is the marketable surplus. So now I think we have a clarity that whatever the farmers is producing at the farm, that total is not the marketable surplus, because that is not available for the general population, because whatever he required first he addresses family needs. He procure some amount in the form of the farm seeds, and then for the, because in the kind sometimes they are giving the same that the produce in the form of the payment that the labor, artisans, and the landlord, and sometimes the payment of social. So that all the is not the marketable surplus. Marketable surplus is that when he complete his domestic needs, then whatever he ensure to be available for the market, that to be treated as the marketable surplus. That is to be the marketable surplus. It means the MS is equal to P minus C, where the MS is the marketable surplus, P is the total production, and the C is the total requirement that the farmer is having for his domestic needs. So that is to be known as the marketable surplus. So till now we have completed two things. That first one is producer surplus, then second one is the marketable surplus, which we have completed right now. So we'll have a discussion on that. What is the difference between the producer surplus? Producer surplus is that we know that if anything develops, that the producer surplus, this is the quantity which is actually made available to the non-producing part of the country. So that is actually the producer surplus. That is actually the producer surplus. From farm marketing point of view, this surplus is more important than the total production of the commodity. This is the part of the production that which is available for the other population. So that is why this is very important. Whereas the marketable surplus, that producer surplus and marketable surplus, that to be how much he actually give the market, that is different. But the marketable surplus, that this much of amount which he can easily give to the market. So that is the marketable surplus, that he produces surplus, but after addressing the things that whatever he produced, that is to be the producer surplus. So that we have discussed over here in detail. What is that actually, and that significance of producer surplus, that framing that we know that the framing sound policies, the price policies, we can decide on the basis of that, developing proper procurement and purchase strategies also, then checking undue price fluctuation, that to be decided by the producer, and the export-import policies, and an advance estimate of the surplus of such commodities, development of transport and storage system, that is also the part of that thing. The knowledge of marketable surplus helps in developing the adequate capacity of the transport. So on the basis of that, we have the picture in front of us that what is the difference that marketable surplus is that after the total production, whatever is there, that to be that to be subtracted from the from the total requirement. So that after that, whatever is remain, that to whom we are calling the marketable surplus, to whom we are calling the marketable surplus. So that these are the basic difference between the marketed surplus and the producer surplus. Now the third concept, which is also very important, that what is the marketed surplus? Marketed surplus is the quantity of the produce which the producer farmers actually sells in the market, irrespective of his requirement of family consumption and need and other payments. The marketed surplus may be more, less, or equal to the marketable surplus. So this is actually the here we will see that the marketable surplus, marketed surplus is that quantity of produce which the farmers actually sells in the market, irrespective. Here he is whatever is produced, he it sometimes without considering that his own requirement, family consumption, farm needs, and other payment. The marketed surplus may be more or less or equal to the marketable surplus. So this is like that. So whether the marketed surplus increases with the increase in the production has been under continual theoretical scrutiny. It has been argued that the poor and subsistence farmers sell the part of the produce which is necessary to enable them to meet their cash obligations. The result is distress sale, and then some farms in such a situation, any increase in the production of marginal and some small farms should first result in the increase in the farm consumption. So this is a very serious issue, that what is difference between the marketed surplus and marketable surplus. So that we'll discuss after completion of this thing that we are discussing. So that an increase in the real income of farmer also has a positive effect on farm consumption because of positive income elasticity. Since the contribution of this group to the total marketed quantity is not substantial, the overall effect of increase in production must lead to an increase in the marketed surplus. Dunsill writes there is one term, marketable surplus, only term marketable surplus. This may be defined subjectively, objectively, subjectively. The farmer's marketable surplus to theoretical surplus available for the sale. The producer farmers, after he has met his own genuine consumption requirement and the requirement for his family, the payment of wages in kind, cash, in seed requirement, and the social and religious payment. Objectively, the marketable surplus is the total quantity of arrival in the market out of the new crop. So that here we will see that what is that marketable surplus. So now we will have once again the comparison. So now I think we have completed this thing, and I'll once again review all the things. That first we have a producer surplus of agricultural commodity. In developing economy, the producer surplus, we have clearly known that the product play a significant role. This is the quantity which is actually made available for to non-producing population of the country, because everywhere we know that everything is not available, not to be produced by the people. So whatever is produced by the people, that to be whatever the things to be available for the for the other population other than the his own requirement. So that is to be called as the producer surplus, and it is having a huge impact on the economic and that their activities that we have discussed. The significant producer surplus, the significance, what is the significance that we have discussed in detail, that framing sound price policy, price support program, are the integral part of the producer surplus. Developing producer procurement and purchase strategy, that is also the part of these things. The procurement provision policy also, then the checking undue price fluctuation, that is to be also to be discussed. And then the export import policies, advanced estimate of the surpluses of such commodities which have to the potential external trade are useful in the decision related to the export and import of the country commodity. If surplus is expected to be less, then what is the necessary that the country can plan for import, and if the surplus is expected to be more, then what is necessary menu for exporting such a surplus can be explored. That we know that in international trade, the knowledge of that the surplus, producer surplus, is very important for any country to survive in the global era. So that is why very important the development of transport and storage system, that solely based on the information which we have with us about the producer surplus, marketed surplus, and marketable surplus. So these are the importance and significance of the producer surplus. Now we'll have the marketable surplus, that we have already discussed, that what is the total production, and then whatever the total requirement of the farmer itself. Then whatever is remain after that to be treated as a marketable surplus. It means that this is the amount of commodity which actually available in the market, and that is very important for the farmers. And that we formula we can easily, that P MS is equal to P minus C, whereas the MS is marketable surplus, total production, and then the C is the total requirement of the family. So we subtract then the total requirement from the total production, then whatever is remain to we are treating the marketable surplus. Now the marketed surplus, that is also very important, that whatever the difference. So these are the all three things we have discussed in detail, and I hope that we have a very good understanding that marketed surplus is the quantity of the produce which the producer farmers actually sells in the market. That is also very interesting. Sometimes because of fulfilling his requirement, whether irrespective of the things, whatever he has his own family needs, because of the stress on him to sold the product in the market, to pay the debts and several other the religious the things that he has promised during that under the pressure he is selling the things, that is the marketed surplus actually. So that because he is selling that thing because of the compulsion, because he don't have the storage facility, he don't have that, without knowing that actually the information that what is the rate over there. So undue that is why we know that sometimes the onion price of the farmers, they are throwing their product. The potato we have seen in the past that they are throwing on the, and tomato also they are throwing on the roads. So that is why, because under the pressure that is there, and under the pressure he is selling the product without even knowing that what is his need or what is the requirement of the market. He don't have the information. So that is the situation. Whether the marketed surplus increases with the increase in the production has been under continual theoretical scrutiny. It has been argued that the poor and subsistence farmers sell the part of the produce which is necessary to enable them to meet their cash obligations. This result is distress sales on some farms. So in such a situation, any increase in the production of marginal and small farms should first result in the increase on the farm consumption. So these are because of these reasons sometimes this happens. So So we have discussed this thing in detail that increase in the, once again I'll repeat that what is actually an income increase in the real income of farmers also has a positive effect on farm consumption because of positive income elasticity. Hence the contribution of this group to the total marketed quantity is not substantial. The overall effect of the increase in production must lead to an increase in the marketed surplus. So Bansal writes that there is no only one term there. There is nothing like the producer surplus or marketable or market. He had told only the marketable surplus. This may be defined subjectively or objectively. Subjectively, the term marketable surplus refers to the theoretical surplus available for sale with the producer farmers. That is after he had met his own genuine consumption requirement and the requirement of his family. The payment of wages in kind, his weed and seed and requirement and other social that binding those religious payment. Objectively, the marketable surplus is the total quantity of arrival in the market out of the new crop. That is objectively this is like that. Subjectively we have already discussed. So now we have a three concept, but the Bensley he has clearly told that the marketable surplus that is that, and objectively he has subjectively he has told that the whatever the thing which is available in the market after the domestic need of the farmers that is to be known as the marketable surplus. But objectively, the whatever came into the market, that total quantity arrival in the market, that to be known as the marketable surplus. So that this concept is very much clearly explained. So although we have discussed all the things in detail, at first we have discussed the producer surplus, then we have discussed the marketable surplus, then we have finally we have discussed the marketed surplus. So all together, if you see that it is very important for any government or any organization that if they are running that they want to control the fluctuation of price fluctuation and the inflation in their country. So they have to have the correct information of these if simultaneously whatever we say, but if we have the correct information of the production of the country and in what way actually we design that storage facility and all. If we want to design all the things in a perfect manner, then we have to have the producer surplus information, then the marketable surplus information, and the marketed surplus information. Then the country can work on the and facilitate their resources for the growth and development of the country. Thank you very much for joining. And now I am leaving the class. Thank you very much.